so basically what we're going to do tonight is share 10 considerations that you should take into account when shaping some form of ORM strategy. Okay, so lesson number one, always listen. You've got to listen. You've got to do something to know what's going on in the space. There are a bunch of systems. The kind of ones that have caught my eye internationally, Radiant 6, Systemus, and locally there is Brand's Eye and Said What, are kind of the two main players. But at the end of the day, a system is a system, so it's more about what you look for in these systems and what you look to get out of these systems. So hopefully these tips will help. First of all, make sure it scans the entire internet. Make sure that the system can split negative and positive mentions. Make sure it can identify influences. Make sure it has workflow. Make sure it has reporting as well. And specifically is reputation trends over time, because that's something you can do something with. Make sure it has PR, RAND value measurement.
The second thing that we want you guys to remember, online reputation and the management of that reputation are two completely different things. And how you approach them is completely different. Your online reputation is dictated predominantly by the products and services that you offer and the interactions that your customers have with those products and services and with your company. Now, there's very little that a management person with a monitoring tool can do about a bad online reputation. Once it's established, it's indexed, it's always findable, it's always searchable. So your biggest concern as a company is to care about the reputation that you create through those interactions and through the products and services. If you've got a crap product, you're going to have a crap reputation, and there's very little, next to nothing, that an ORM specialist is going to be able to do about it. So now, once you've got a bad reputation, how do you control the management side of things? How do you separate out the end? And the biggest rule, obviously, as we started with it, which is listen, is exactly that. It's listen and feed that stuff back into the product and service. Because if you aren't taking the lessons learned through your ORM strategy and improving your products and services, then your reputation isn't going to improve.
People think ORM is about jumping in and engaging. It is not. It's completely the opposite. Because often jumping in and engaging does more damage than just sitting back listening and actually creating a better product in the first place.
One of the big kind of undertakings that we go through as a PR company is to understand your circles of influence, understand who is influential, who isn't influential for your client or the company that you work for, and where they sit within the circle of influence. And it's generally not that difficult to find out who they are. You know, if you're in the industry, you'll probably know who they are. And what we do is we always put those guys towards the center. And the less influential guys on the outside. And my theory around ORM is only worry about the inside. When you execute communications or PR campaigns, you go straight to the center. You use the fact that social media is generally a repeating service, which means people at the center they write opinion, they write news, and everyone else just retweets it out. Okay, so it's a repeater service. If you want to execute a PR campaign, go straight to the center, give those guys the information, get the influential people to publish the content to whatever platform they choose, and that content will flow out to the outer circles. All right?
Okay, moving on. Lesson number 4. Your Google CV matters a lot more than you think. It's not always about what people are saying right now. It's what people have said a while ago that Google, in her almightiness, has decided to rank as authoritative and put on your search results. Okay? So imagine that someone was researching F&B as a bank. Okay? And they were particularly interested in the online channel. So the keywords they would use is something like F&B plus online. Case study's a little contrived and it's a bit of a dipstick, but it'll prove the point quite nicely. So what I did for this was I went to Google and I went 2 pages of the results deep, so I don't think anyone goes past page 1, let alone page 2. But most importantly, I went to all the categories on the side. So news, blogs, updates, discussions, everything I think is a category. And then I did a very simple test. I wrote down positive mentions and I wrote down negative mentions and the themes. Okay, so banking down. Now here's the money point. That happened 11 months ago, yet it still dominates search results. Now there is nothing that the M part of ORM can do about that. All you've got to do is you've got to release more, better, relevant news until those results go away. And that's a scary thing. Okay, my favorite rule. Don't always poke the bear. Because people jump into the ORM space and they go, holy crap, there's like thousands of conversations going on. And they go, poke, poke, let's see what happens, poke, poke. Let's answer here, but we won't answer there because we forgot that one. And let's answer here, and they don't know if the bear's going to wake up and smile or the bear's going to eat them. Okay? And that's a big problem. So think very carefully before you poke the bear. It's part of an ORM strategy.
Some people just don't care. You guys heard bitching. You're still with Vodacom. You've considered changing, but you haven't. And the reason you haven't is because the barrier to change is too high.
Okay, moving on.
Sometimes negative is really positive. Sometimes bad PR is good PR. And you have to forgive me because I actually can't remember the name of the airline. But there was a low-cost airline in Europe that decided they were going to launch this really, really low-cost flight from London to Madeira. And their PR launch strategy was they were going to invite a whole lot of bloggers and media people and TV crews, etc., onto the inaugural flight, and they were going to fly everyone up to Madeira, fly everyone back, etc. And they put everyone on the plane, they taxied out to the runway, and the plane broke. And they were like, shit, sorry, my bad, turned around, took everyone off and said, sorry guys, trip's cancelled. And the company went back and were like, this is the biggest PR disaster in the history of airlines and travel of all time. And every single article was the plane didn't get off the ground, etc. But it was always premised with the fact that low-cost airlines, so-and-so, who were trying to launch a 30-pound flight from London to Madeira, because the airline didn't get off the ground. And these guys were like, we're sunk. They walked into the office the next day, and the flights were booked for like 6 months on. If you've got a bot or a drone sitting there measuring negative or positive, they're going to sit there and go, negative PR, wow, really negative PR, really negative comment, and yet your sales graph is doing the exact opposite. While your online reputation is taking it down, your sales are taking it up. So it's just a cool example of just be careful that negative is sometimes positive.
Brands have released some really viral and interesting kind of blog posts where they go and measure topical events and they tell you how many mentions there were in a certain period and how much rand value was generated. Now, luckily they don't say positive or negative, but I have to really question what that 287,000 rands worth of PR mentions in a 48-hour time window around the time when he rocked up in Zimbabwe and supported his Mugabe, with his Support Mugabe shirt on. What is 287,000 rands? A, we don't know if it's positive, we don't know if it's negative. If it was negative, we suspect it was negative. Was it really negative? Did it change his strategy? Does he really care? And how is that 287,000 rand made up? Because what I suspect in real life it's made up of is probably 10 or 20, 10,000 rand hectic articles in mainstream media, and then what, like a random tweet for a whole bunch more tweets. And that's an important thing, you know. This value is all subjective, so take it with a pinch of salt.
But we're definitely not saying don't measure it, don't value it. You have to. But my take is that if you're going to run a campaign, put a peg in the ground. Just go, even though it's wrong, let's just decide this is how we're going to measure it. Because then at least you'll know percentage-wise, did we go up, did we go down? Because it'll be whether you're right or wrong, the percentage fluctuation will let you know whether you're on the right track or you're on the wrong track.
This, for me, is measurement that really, really matters. And I said right in the beginning, I said make sure that your ORM system can measure trends over time. Because this information you can do something with. Now, what's more interesting than overlaying this over real-world events, and real-world events are interesting. Steve Jobs has a heart attack, bang! A whole bunch of Apple share price goes through the floor. Try overlay that on your media schedule. That gets really interesting. Because companies in South Africa release these big, warm, fuzzy brand ads. Okay, and brand ads are meant to rouse sentiment. Well, do that. You'll be able to tell that. The other thing you can overlay it is share price. Real world events and a whole bunch of other stuff. So keep an eye on that. And the last one. Why not build a space where you can pull people in? Create your own circle of influence. Okay? A, you can control it more. B, you can plug it into your back-end systems more. But it's so much more controllable to build this kind of engagement hub. And I think companies really need to give it a thought.